There are moments in life when everything around us seems loud. The noise of pressure, deadlines, disappointments, uncertainty, it can drown out the stillness of our soul. Sometimes you're smiling on the outside, but inside it feels like a storm is raging. You try to keep it together, keep showing up, keep pressing forward, but deep down you're longing for something more than a quick fix. You're longing for peace. Not the kind that comes from having all the answers, not the kind that comes from everything going your way, but a peace that surpasses all understanding, a peace that holds you together when everything else is falling apart. That's the kind of peace God gives. It's easy to believe peace is only possible when the chaos clears, that once the finances are in order, once the diagnosis is better, once the relationship is mended, then you'll have peace. But God doesn't promise peace after the storm. He offers peace in the storm. Right in the middle of it, when the winds are howling and the waves are rising, He steps into your situation and says, "Peace, be still." And suddenly, what had power over you begins to lose its grip, not because the storm changed, but because you changed in the storm. God never intended for you to carry all the weight. You were never meant to walk around with constant anxiety, sleepless nights, a heart full of fear. That's not how your soul was designed to function. That's why no matter how much success you chase or how many people applaud you, if you don't have peace, you'll still feel empty. But the good news is, you don't have to live like that. You don't have to settle for chaos on the inside just because there's chaos on the outside. God's peace is available, and it's not temporary, not fragile, and not dependent on circumstances. It's anchored in His presence. It's rooted in trust. It's built on a foundation that can't be shaken. Maybe today you're facing something you never saw coming. You were blindsided, caught off guard, and now your mind is racing with what ifs and worst case scenarios. But can I tell you, God saw it before it happened. And if He allowed it, He already made a way through it. That's why you don't have to panic. You don't have to run through every outcome in your head. You don't have to rehearse the pain or replay the fear. You can pause and lean into the one who's holding your future. He's not pacing the floors of heaven, trying to figure out how to fix this. He's seated, He's settled, and He's offering you that same posture, a supernatural peace that doesn't make sense, but absolutely makes a difference. Peace doesn't always look like a quick answer or an immediate turnaround. Sometimes peace is the strength to get up and face the day, even when your heart feels heavy. Sometimes peace is having joy when it would be easier to fall apart. Sometimes peace is walking through the valley and realizing you're not walking alone. God is with you. He's holding your hand. And where His presence is, peace will follow. Not because you earned it, but because you belong to Him. See, when God gives peace, He's not giving a feeling. He's giving Himself. He is peace. That's why it's not something you strive for. It's something you receive. But to receive peace, you have to release control. You have to let go of your need to figure everything out. You have to lay down the pressure to be strong for everyone else. You have to give Him the burden you were never created to carry. That's when peace rushes in. Not when everything is perfect, but when you say, "God, I trust You even when I don't understand You." Some of you have been fighting invisible battles, smiling on the outside, but secretly weighed down. You've been trying to be brave for your kids, strong for your family, composed at work, but it's taken a toll on you. But right now, God is saying, you don't have to do it all. Let me be your peace. Let me carry what's too heavy for you. And when you let Him, He will flood your heart with a calm you didn't know was possible. You'll walk into the same situations, face the same people, deal with the same deadlines. But something will be different this time. You won't be reacting in fear. You'll be responding in faith. When peace becomes your posture, it changes your perspective. Suddenly, delays won't discourage you. People's opinions won't define you. Uncertainty won't intimidate you. Why? Because you know who's in control. You know this didn't catch God off guard. You know if He brought you to it, He'll bring you through it. And even when you don't see how, you'll trust the who. You'll rest, not because everything makes sense, but because you know God makes a way even when there is no way. I've learned that peace is not the absence of problems. It's the presence of God. You can be in a room full of noise, in a season full of pressure, in a situation full of questions, and still have a peace that holds you steady. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. That's not denial, that's discernment. That's what it means to live anchored in the unshakable love of God. You're not tossed by every wave. You're not rattled by every report. You're not shaken by every delay. You're grounded in the truth that no matter what comes, you are not alone and you are not at risk. God will give you peace, not just for the easy days, but for the dark nights. Not just when people celebrate you, but even when they walk away from you. Not just when the door opens, but even when it closes. Because peace is not about what's happening around you. It's about who's living inside you. And the one inside you is greater than anything that's trying to come against you. There's something powerful about a person who walks in peace. They're not easily shaken. They don't need to prove anything. They're not striving, performing, or begging for approval. They just are. That's what peace does. It settles you. It reminds you that you don't need to chase validation or fear rejection. You can be still and know that He is God. You can move forward with clarity. You can let go of the need to control the outcome. You can stop rehearsing the trauma, the betrayal, the what-ifs, and start resting in the truth that God's got this. Your peace is not fragile. It's not conditional. It's not circumstantial. It's divine. It's intentional. And it's already yours. But here's the key. You have to protect it. Just like you wouldn't let just anyone walk into your home, don't let every thought take up residence in your mind. Don't let fear be your roommate. Don't let worry be your counselor. Don't let offense be your constant companion. Guard your peace. Protect your joy. Set boundaries when needed. Walk away when necessary. Not because you're weak, but because peace is too valuable to compromise. Some doors need to stay shut because they cost you your peace. Some relationships need to remain distant because every time you engage, you lose your focus. Some conversations aren't worth having because they steal your clarity. You don't have to argue. You don't have to explain. You don't have to convince. Just walk in peace and let peace speak for you. That's where the strength is. That's where the favor flows. When you refuse to let the world dictate your spirit, you become a light in dark places. Your peace becomes your testimony. Your calm becomes your message. People will wonder how you made it through. They'll ask how you stayed so level-headed when others were falling apart. And your answer will be simple: God gave me peace. So today, wherever you are, whatever you're facing, whatever storm is brewing around you, know this: peace is not a distant dream, it's a present reality. And it's available to you, not because you did everything right, but because He is faithful. Not because you figured it all out, but because He never left your side. Let Him be your calm. Let Him be your anchor. Let Him give you peace. There's a common misconception that peace means everything is calm, that there's no conflict, no pressure, no uncertainty. People assume that peace shows up when the bills are paid, the kids are behaving, the doors are opening, and the diagnosis is good. But real peace isn't found in the absence of problems. Real peace is found in the presence of God. You can have all kinds of things going wrong around you, but if God is with you, if His presence is resting on your life, you can still walk with peace in your heart, peace in your mind, peace in your decisions. That's what makes the peace of God so powerful. It doesn't require perfect conditions to show up. You might be in a storm right now. You're doing your best, showing up, staying faithful, but deep down you feel the waves rising. Maybe it's your finances, maybe it's your health, maybe it's something no one else even knows you're going through. The natural response would be to panic, to fear, to worry. But when you carry the presence of God with you, something shifts. You stop looking at the storm and you start looking at the one who can speak to the storm. You stop focusing on what's missing and you start remembering who's present. That's when peace starts to take root. Not when the problem disappears, but when the perspective changes. God's peace isn't fragile. It's not like the world's peace that depends on circumstances lining up. The world says, I'll have peace when I get the promotion, when the relationship works out, when everything is under control. But God's peace says, even if nothing changes, I will not be moved. That kind of peace is a weapon. It keeps you steady when everything around you is shaky. It silences fear, confusion, and doubt. It doesn't ignore reality. It just refuses to bow to it. When God's presence fills your life, His peace becomes your atmosphere. And even in chaos, you remain composed. Think about it. Jesus was on a boat with His disciples and a storm hit. The wind was fierce, the waves were crashing, and the disciples were terrified. But Jesus was asleep, not because He didn't care, but because He carried peace. His presence was the answer before the disciples even knew how to ask the question. And when they woke Him up, He didn't panic. He spoke, "Peace, be still." And the wind obeyed Him. That's what His presence does. It stills what seems unstoppable. It calms what looks chaotic. It reminds us that we don't have to let what's happening around us dictate what's happening within us. There's a deep strength in people who walk with peace. They're not easily rattled. They don't react to every insult or panic with every delay. They've learned that their peace isn't tied to people's opinions, outcomes, or timelines. It's anchored in the presence of God. You might not understand how they can smile during a storm or stay calm under pressure, but that's what divine peace looks like. It's not logical. It's spiritual. It's not explained. It's experienced. You can't fake it. You can't manufacture it. You can only receive it. Peace shows up when trust goes deep. You can't have peace if you're always trying to control everything. That's exhausting. That's anxiety dressed up as responsibility. But when you really believe that God is in control, that He's working behind the scenes, opening doors, fighting battles, and arranging things for your good, that's when peace floods in. It's not because the situation changed yet. It's because you finally let go and trusted the one who never fails. Sometimes the enemy isn't after your stuff. He's after your peace. Because he knows that if he can steal your peace, he can steal your focus. If he can get you worried, he can get you distracted. If he can keep you anxious, he can keep you from hearing God clearly. That's why it's so important to guard your peace. Protect it. Refuse to hand it over to every bad report, every toxic conversation, every unanswered question. Not everything deserves a reaction. Not every situation requires your emotional energy. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is stay silent and stay still, because you know your peace isn't coming from them. It's coming from Him. God's peace doesn't mean you won't feel things. It doesn't mean you won't cry, won't wrestle, won't have tough days. But even through the pain, His presence brings a comfort that can't be explained. You'll walk through dark valleys and still feel held. You'll face uncertainty and still feel grounded. That's what His peace does. It holds you together when everything else is trying to pull you apart. It becomes a shield, a covering, a strength you didn't even know you had. And the more you lean into His presence, the more peace becomes your portion. When you understand that peace is not tied to your circumstances, but rooted in your connection to God, you stop chasing calm and start choosing presence. You stop waiting for the storm to stop and start inviting God into the boat. You don't need everything to be perfect. You just need Him to be near. And the beautiful thing is, He always is. There's something powerful that happens when you stop waiting for everything around you to change and start asking God to change something within you. Sometimes we're praying for the storm to go away when God is using the storm to develop a peace inside of us that can't be shaken. You may not realize it right away, but some of the most life-changing moments in your journey won't come from everything going smoothly. They'll come from seasons where you had every reason to fall apart. But you didn't. You stood, not because you were strong on your own, but because God was developing a quiet strength, a calm confidence, a supernatural peace that can't be explained. Too often we think peace is something God just gives us like a gift wrapped in a bow, handed over with no effort on our part. But peace is developed. It's cultivated. It grows in the soil of trust, surrender, and obedience. It's easy to have peace when life is good, when the bills are paid, the relationships are thriving, the opportunities are lining up. Sure, peace feels natural. But what about when it's not good? What about when you're walking through something that doesn't make sense? What about when you don't know how it's going to turn out? That's when real peace gets developed. Not just the feeling, but the foundation. God will often allow pressure to show up, not to destroy you, but to develop you. Because if He gave you the peace you're asking for without the process, it wouldn't last. It would be surface level peace, fragile, conditional, easily shaken. But God wants you to have deep peace. Peace that's not moved by opinions, setbacks, delays, or unexpected turns. That kind of peace comes through process. It's built in the moments when you could have panicked, but chose to pray instead. It's shaped in the quiet nights when no one saw the tears, but you stayed faithful anyway. It's developed when you chose to trust instead of control, to worship instead of worry. There's a reason the Bible says peace surpasses understanding. That means it won't always make sense. You'll be walking through things that should have taken your joy, but instead, you're waking up with strength. You'll be facing battles that should have made you bitter, but somehow you're still walking in love. That's the kind of peace God develops in His people. Not peace that avoids problems, but peace that walks through problems with power. You're not ignoring the issue. You're not pretending it doesn't hurt. You're simply standing on a greater truth that God is with you and He's working even when you can't see it. There will be seasons where everything in you wants to fix it, explain it, defend it, or escape it. But God says, be still and know that I am God. That stillness isn't passive. It's powerful. It's a decision to rest in the truth that He's in control. It's an intentional posture that says, I don't have all the answers, but I trust the one who does. That's where peace is developed. In the knowing, not the seeing. In the trusting, not the controlling. In the surrender, not the striving. You may be asking, God, why won't you just change this situation? But sometimes the more powerful question is, God, what are you trying to change in me through this situation? Maybe it's not the circumstance that needs to shift. Maybe it's your heart. Maybe it's your dependency. Maybe He's teaching you to lean not on your own understanding, but on His promises. Because when you start leaning on Him fully, peace becomes your default. It's not something you fight for. It's something you flow in. It becomes a natural byproduct of trust. The truth is, the peace you're longing for is not found on the other side of a breakthrough. It's found in the presence of the one who never leaves. You don't need to wait until the door opens to have peace. You don't need to wait until the problem is solved to have peace. You can have peace right now because peace isn't the result of perfect circumstances. It's the result of a perfect God who holds you through every circumstance. As you grow in Him, you'll notice your peace growing too. Not because the battles stop, but because you've learned who's fighting for you. And don't underestimate what that developed peace will do in your life. It will carry you through seasons that would have crushed the old version of you. It will anchor you when the wind starts to blow. It will protect your mind when the lies start to swirl. It will guard your heart when the disappointment hits. And the more you walk with God, the more that peace becomes who you are, not just what you have. You won't just have peaceful moments. You'll be a peaceful person, calm in chaos, steady in storms, unshaken by what used to shake you. So don't despise the process. Don't resist the stretching. Don't rush the work God is doing inside of you. Peace is being developed. You're not just going through something. You're growing through it. And the peace God is forming in you now will become the strength you carry into every room, every season, every assignment ahead. You won't have to search for peace. You'll become a carrier of it because God didn't just give it to you. He grew it in you. There are moments in life when silence feels like the loudest sound. When heaven seems quiet and your prayers feel like they're bouncing off the ceiling. When you've done everything you know to do, believed, waited, prayed, obeyed, and still nothing changes. It's in those moments that doubt tries to creep in and convince you that God has forgotten you. But the truth is, just because He's quiet doesn't mean He's distant. God's silence is not a sign of His absence. It's often a signal that He's working behind the scenes in ways you can't yet see. We live in a world that associates movement with progress. If we don't see things shifting, we assume they're stuck. If we don't hear God speaking, we assume He's stopped listening. But faith was never about walking by sight. Faith is built in the waiting. It's forged in the quiet. It's refined in the seasons where God is not saying much. But you're still holding on because you trust who He is, even when you don't understand what He's doing. God often does His greatest work in silence. When Jesus was in the tomb, heaven didn't make a sound. There were no angels announcing the plan, no divine light show explaining the process. It looked like all hope was lost. It looked like nothing was happening. But behind the stone, resurrection was unfolding. Life was being restored. Victory was being sealed, and no one saw it coming. That's how God works sometimes, quietly, intentionally, supernaturally. Just because it's silent doesn't mean it's still. Just because you can't trace His hand doesn't mean you can't trust His heart. In your silent seasons, don't mistake the quiet for inactivity. God is often the most strategic when He's the most silent. He's arranging pieces, aligning people, opening doors, and closing others. He's protecting you from things you didn't know were coming. He's preparing you for things you didn't even ask for. And if He showed you everything all at once, you might try to step ahead of Him or shortcut the process. So instead, He stays silent, not to punish you, but to preserve you. Because faith that is tested in silence comes out stronger on the other side. It's easy to trust God when He's speaking clearly. But can you trust Him when He's not saying a word? Can you keep walking when all you have is a whisper? Can you keep obeying when the outcome looks uncertain? That's where real spiritual maturity begins to grow. That's where peace begins to take root. Not in the loud confirmations, but in the quiet confidence that says, even if I don't hear Him right now, I know He hasn't left me. That's what carries you through the silence. Not feelings, but faith. Sometimes God goes quiet to pull you deeper, to draw your attention back to His character rather than His commentary, because it's possible to become more focused on His voice than on His presence. And if you're only chasing words, you'll miss the wonder of simply being with Him. Silence teaches you how to sit with God, not just for what He can give, but for who He is. It's where you learn that peace isn't just in the answer. It's in the assurance. When God is silent, He's not punishing you. He's inviting you to grow. He's teaching you how to depend, how to listen beyond your ears, how to see with the eyes of your heart. And while silence may feel like a pause, it's actually a setup for clarity, a setup for strength, a setup for deeper trust. Because when the answer finally comes, you'll know that it wasn't your striving that made it happen. It was your surrender. You didn't force it. You followed. You didn't rush it. You rested. And that kind of peace becomes a testimony all its own. It's also in the silence that your spiritual roots go deep. On the surface, nothing may look different. You're still waiting, still trusting, still believing. But underneath, something is happening. Your character is growing. Your patience is expanding. Your heart is becoming anchored. And when the breakthrough finally comes, it won't just be about what God did. It'll be about who you became while you waited. That's the power of a silent season. It's not wasted time. It's invested time. So don't despise the silence. Don't let the quiet make you question the promise. Sometimes the silence is where the foundation is laid, where your resolve is tested, where your worship is purified. Because when you can lift your hands without the answer, when you can still declare His goodness without the evidence, when you can praise Him in the middle and not just at the end, that's when you know peace has taken root. You're not moved by the silence anymore because you've learned the silence doesn't mean God is gone. It just means He's working in ways you can't yet see. God is not trying to frustrate you. He's forming something in you. He's tuning your ears to His heart. He's building a quiet strength, a settled peace, and an unshakable faith. And the day will come when the silence breaks, the door opens, the answer comes, and you'll look back and realize the silence wasn't empty. It was full of purpose. It was sacred ground. It was where your peace grew up. One of the most overlooked truths about peace is that it's not something you wait to feel. It's something you decide to walk in. We often think peace is a byproduct of external calm. We wait for people to act right, for circumstances to align, for the tension to disappear. But true peace doesn't come from the absence of chaos. It comes from the presence of God. And you don't need perfect conditions to step into it. You can walk in peace right in the middle of the storm. You can speak peace even while the winds are still blowing. Because peace isn't a destination, it's a posture, it's a mindset. It's a daily decision to live from the inside out instead of the outside in. Too many people wait until the battle is over before they claim victory. They wait until the healing comes before they rest. They wait until the door opens before they trust. But that's not faith. Faith walks in peace now. Faith praises in advance. Faith rests before the results. That's what sets you apart in a world full of panic, stress, and confusion. You don't need to wait for peace to arrive. You carry it with you. You're not hoping it comes. You've made up your mind to walk in it. That means even when things don't make sense, you still keep your posture. When the unexpected hits, you don't crumble. You center yourself in truth. You remember that God has already gone ahead of you, that nothing catches Him off guard, and that your future is not in the hands of man, but in the hands of your Maker. Peace is not about pretending things are perfect. It's about trusting that God's plan is greater than the pain. It's about choosing not to let circumstances dictate your spirit. You may be walking through the fire, but peace says, I'm not walking alone. When you walk in peace before you see the answer, it becomes a declaration. It tells the enemy, you can't shake me. It tells fear, you won't rule me. It tells doubt, you don't have the final word. It's one thing to have peace when everything settles down, but it's a whole new level of faith. When you walk into the unknown with a calm spirit, when you smile without having all the answers, when you speak life while you're still waiting on life to change. That kind of peace is powerful. That kind of peace changes atmospheres. It brings clarity in confusion and strength in weakness. And the beautiful thing about peace is that it's contagious. When you walk in it, others take notice. They wonder how you're so calm when you should be breaking. They wonder how you keep showing up when it would be easier to give up. But what they don't realize is that your peace isn't coming from what's around you. It's coming from what's inside you. It's not circumstantial. It's spiritual. It's not fleeting. It's rooted. You've made a decision to walk in peace, not because life is perfect, but because your God is faithful. Walking in peace before you see the answer is also an act of spiritual warfare. You're refusing to partner with fear. You're rejecting anxiety. You're closing the door to panic. When you walk in peace, you're standing in agreement with heaven. You're saying, God, I trust you even here. I trust you even now. I trust you even when I don't understand. And that trust invites the supernatural into your situation. Peace is the platform on which miracles are built. Jesus didn't wait for the sea to calm before He spoke peace. He stood in the storm and commanded it. That same authority has been given to you. Don't let life talk you out of your peace. Don't let pressure steal what God has already placed within you. You have to guard your peace like a treasure. You have to protect it like it's sacred, because it is. That means you don't engage in every argument. You don't respond to every attack. You don't entertain every fear. You stay grounded. You stay focused. You stay centered on truth. The world may try to pull you in every direction, but you've already made your choice. You're walking in peace. And yes, there will be moments when emotions rise and anxiety tries to creep in. That's normal. But just because it knocks doesn't mean you have to answer. You remind yourself who you are and whose you are. You go back to the promises. You speak life over your situation. You shift your perspective from the problem to the provider. And as you do, peace will return, not as a random feeling, but as a steady flow. A confidence that says, God's got this, and I don't have to carry what He's already covered. So let your peace be loud. Let it be seen in your posture, your decisions, your attitude, your words. Let people see you walk into storms with steady steps. Let them hear you speak calm in chaos. Not because you're strong in your own ability, but because you've anchored yourself in the one who never changes. And the more you walk in peace now, the more you'll be prepared for what's coming later. Because the person who can walk in peace without the answer is the person who's ready to carry the weight of the answer when it comes. Peace now positions you for purpose later. And that's why you don't wait for peace, you walk in it. Peace isn't passive, it's powerful. It's not just about feeling calm, it's about walking in divine confidence, even when everything around you is trying to shake you. When you carry peace, you carry authority. You're not reacting to life. You're responding from a place of inner strength. And that kind of peace can silence confusion, calm storms, and shift entire atmospheres. Peace isn't just what you feel. It's what you bring. It's how you show up. It's what you release into every room you walk into. Too often we underestimate what we carry. We assume peace is for private comfort, just something to help us get through tough seasons. But peace isn't just for you. It's meant to flow through you. It's not just about surviving storms. It's about shifting the environment in the middle of them. Jesus didn't wait for peace to arrive. He was peace. He didn't panic when the winds blew. He didn't fear when the waves rose. He stood up in the middle of the chaos and said, "Peace, be still." And that same authority lives in you. When you know who you are and whose you are, you don't let the storm outside determine the stillness inside. You bring peace to the table. You bring calm to the conversation. You carry a presence that disrupts fear, that unsettles anxiety, that stops chaos in its tracks. That's the kind of peace that surpasses understanding. The kind that doesn't make sense to the world. The kind that says, yes, things are shaking, but I'm not. Yes, the diagnosis is serious, but I'm not going to live in fear. Yes, people walked away, but I'm still standing. That's the supernatural power of peace. It roots you, grounds you, and makes you unshakable in a shaking world. This is the peace that isn't moved by headlines or deadlines. It isn't based on how people treat you or what they say about you. It's not fragile. It's fortified. It's not shallow. It's deep. And when that kind of peace lives inside you, it flows out of you. Your words carry more weight. Your presence shifts the atmosphere. Your silence even speaks. People can feel it before you say a word, because peace is not just an emotion, it's a spirit. It's the Spirit of God alive and active within you. There's something powerful about someone who walks into chaos and doesn't match it, who doesn't raise their voice just because everyone else is yelling, who doesn't move just because others are panicking. That's not weakness, that's control. That's discernment. That's the discipline of peace. The ability to remain calm when everything's trying to pull you into disorder. And make no mistake, it takes strength to walk in peace. It takes maturity to say, I won't let this situation rob me of what I carry. And sometimes your peace is the greatest message you'll ever preach. You won't have to explain it. You won't have to prove it. People will see it in how you carry yourself, how you handle rejection, how you keep your joy when others would have lost theirs, how you show up to work, to relationships, to assignments with a quiet strength that speaks louder than any argument. Peace is a witness. It says, God is with me, and I'm not shaken by what's around me. And when people see that, they may not say it out loud, but they'll wonder where your strength comes from. And you'll know it's not because of anything you did. It's because of who He is. When you're carrying true peace, you're not easily offended. You're not constantly reacting. You're not chasing validation. You're not afraid of silence. You're not striving to prove yourself, because you know that peace and striving can't live in the same heart. One has to go. And the more you lean into peace, the more you'll find yourself letting go of what doesn't serve it. You'll stop chasing people who don't value it. You'll stop arguing about things that don't matter. You'll stop trying to control outcomes you were never meant to carry. Peace also brings clarity. When your spirit is calm, your vision gets sharper. You can hear God more clearly. You can make better decisions. You can discern the difference between what's urgent and what's important. But when you're full of anxiety, fear, or chaos, it clouds your thinking. You rush. You misread situations. You speak too soon. But peace slows you down just enough to make wise choices. It protects you from unnecessary mistakes and keeps you in alignment with God's timing. And let's be honest, life won't always cooperate with your peace. There will be unexpected delays, difficult people, heavy days. But that's when peace shines brightest. Not when it's easy, but when it's costly. When you choose to remain steady, even when you have every excuse to lose it. That's when you become a lighthouse in the storm, a source of strength for others who don't yet know how to find it themselves. You don't have to shout to make a difference. Just be anchored. So every day, make a conscious decision to carry peace. Not because life is perfect, but because your spirit is anchored. Not because people are easy, but because your purpose is greater. You are a carrier of peace, a vessel of calm, a light in the dark. And everywhere you go, the peace you walk in becomes a gift to others. They may not understand it, but they'll feel it. And they'll know something about you is different. Something about you is steady. That's not you. That's God's peace living in you and flowing through you.